Over the last couple of years, a lot of controversy has come up and a lot of things have been changing. One of the things that has been changing a lot is the issue of same-sex marriage. And I'm here today to tell you how traditional marriage has changed since the 60s. I myself am a newlywed in today's society, and I'm from a blended family rather than a traditional family, or a traditional marriage as people refer to it. Traditional marriage, or marriage in general, is normally determined by legal papers, but in essence, traditional marriage refers to the family structure. I'm going to tell you today what a traditional marriage is, how it has changed, and the impact that it has had on our society. First off, what it is. A traditional marriage, in essence, is a social unit consisting of the parents and their children. The family structure in general is strict. It is a working father with a stay-at-home mom with generally 2 to 3 children. Then it has changed a lot since the 60s. Traditional marriage has. It has changed a lot in how families are set up and how easy it is to get a divorce now. Divorce is probably the biggest issue when associated with traditional marriage or marriage in the 60s. In the 60s, the marriage was taken very seriously and divorce was very hard to come by. You had to have very valid points, very valid reasons, and you had to come up with hard evidence as to why you wanted a divorce. Then in 1969, Ronald Reagan had passed the No-Fault Divorce Act, which meant that you can get a divorce for any reason whatsoever. You could wake up, roll over, see his face on Tuesday morning, and it absolutely disgusts you. And you could go to the courthouse that afternoon and get divorce papers and be just fine. Or, any other reason. And since then, in the 60s, the divorce rate was 25%. Since then, in 2013, the divorce rate was around 50%. So 1 in 2 marriages were getting a divorce as opposed to 1 in 4. That's not very nice odds. Then the family structures have changed considerably. There is the traditional family, which is closely related to the nuclear family. Then there is the interracial, there is same-sex, there's the single-parent families, there is the blended families, extended families, and that's a lot of changes. The traditional family, as I said, was a working father, stay-at-home mom, and 2 to 3 kids. Now the nuclear family is about the same. It is opposite genders, but can have more meaning to it. It has a broader definition. Like it could have the working mother and the stay-at-home father, or it could have the working parents and one child, or adopted children, or anything like that. Then there is the interracial families, which is the Asians and the Mexicans marrying, and the blacks and whites marrying, and the blacks and the Asians and the whites and the Mexicans, and all manner of crosses of all the different cultures. They are all able to get married now, as opposed to in the 1960s, 1950s. It was forbidden. Interracial was absolutely forbidden in most parts of the USA, and until 1967, which is when it was passed, interracial was then legalized. Then there are the same-sex marriages. Same-sex marriages are currently in debate, and those families are the mother and the mother, or the father and the father, or just the 2 partners. Then there is the blended families. I'm from a blended family. A blended family is 2 people who have children from past relationships, or the mother that has a past relationship and has a child from that, or the father. And then they get together with a new spouse and have more children. That is the blended family. The extended family is, in essence, the mother, father, and their children, and then just other family members living in the household, like the grandparents lived in the household with them, which was not uncommon in the 60s. A lot of people could not afford to be on their own, especially new parents and the Great Depression era. That was not uncommon, but it was not referred to as traditional. Then the impact it has on us as a society. There are both positive and negative impacts. One of the positives is that divorce is easier to come by. There are cases where women or men are beaten and just a whole manner of physical and mental and emotional abuse to either spouse and their children or prior children. And it's a lot easier for them to obtain a divorce now because divorce is a lot easier to come by, and they don't have to have such hard evidence to prove or say if the man is cheating or the woman's cheating. It's easier to exit an unhealthy relationship or an unhealthy marriage than it was in the 60s. And then another positive is the equality it gives everybody. When everybody has the same option, it makes everybody equal. It levels the playing field, in other words. It gives me the option to marry whatever culture or whatever race that the man of my dreams is, or it gives Joe Schmo down the road the same option. It gives everybody that sense of equality and brings everybody together. Now, a negative of it is divorce. Divorce is one of those double-edged swords. Because divorce is so much easier to come by, it depreciates and devalues marriage. Marriage is a very serious thing that people take very lightly, because if they do roll over on Tuesday morning and say, well, I don't like you anymore, I'm getting a divorce, then that could be it. Divorce is very easy to come by, and because it is easy to come by, it devalues marriage very greatly. And then there is the controversy of everything going on. Like the same-sex marriage battle is very controversial. It brings different sides, opposing sides, and people who don't want to even be brought into it. It separates people when you are not allowed to do something, and the controversy rips our society apart at the seams. And the controversy that it surrounds is not healthy for any of us. So today I've told you about what traditional marriage is, how it's changed, how it's impacted our society, and everything that goes along with it. Traditional marriages are slowly dying out, and our new culture is taking over, and it is becoming more equal, and it's becoming more open. The changes that have happened to it are not bad changes, but there are some bad things that go along with it, and hopefully we can get it all good. Thank you.